So I'm gonna try to get through this with as few edits as possible, to be honest. And you can hear my cat starting to meow. Just gonna choose to disregard that and pretend like it's not happening. So, hey, thanks for joining me. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about TLS. TLS, SSL, HTTPS, all pretty similar. We're talking about encryption over the internet. Uh, if it weren't for encryption, it'd be kind of hard to get things done safely on the internet. And encryption allows us a degree of privacy so that we can, go on shopping websites and buy a TV with our credit card without worrying that someone's going to grab that credit card quite literally straight out of the air and then turn around and use it to buy their own TV. So let's talk a little bit about how this works, and then we'll talk about the the other component to this, the main reason for this video, and that's how do you enforce TLS 1.2, 1.3. TLS 1.0, guys, is really freaking old. It's like encryption for dinosaurs. You don't want to be using TLS 1.0. And so a lot of regulatory agencies, or, if you want to be PCI compliant, then you need to disable TLS 1.0. So let's say you log on to a website. This is me. And this is the website. It's some shop. Right, let's see. TVs. That's what they've got. If I'm not using any encryption and I connect straight through, then that means someone that is either hooked in via hardware, just a middleman in the in your path to the website, or even if you were on Wi-Fi. If you're on Wi-Fi, then your data would be going through, the air, and it'd be getting transmitted in plain text. So if you say hello, the guy over here watching is going to see the exact same thing. He sees you've said hello. So if you send over your credit card details, he can see that. Now, with encryption, the website is going to essentially provide you this little magic envelope. This little magic envelope is special because no one can open this envelope once it's been sealed other than them. So they're going to send you that envelope. You're going to take it. You're going to put all your little details in there. Your hello will now go inside here. And then you'll send that over. And what this guy's going to see is he's going to see a bunch of crazy, random. It's not going to make sense. That's because it's been encrypted. And once the envelope gets to the store, they use the special key that no one else has to open it. My God, that just looks like another store. It's supposed to be an envelope that's been opened. I don't know if you could see it, but this was a bad idea. But anyway, hopefully now you understand the basics of encryption. Now, this little envelope, that's the that's sort of the public key mechanism, and there are a few additional things that ride on that. And one of those things is the version of the certificate, the version of the encryption that we're using. Very early methods are now very easy to break. If you were to use TLS 1.0 today, yeah, maybe it's encrypted, and they're going to see that gobbledygook when you pass those details over the air or through the wire or whatever. But they're going to be able to break it, and they're going to be able to turn that unintelligible content into something intelligible. So you avoid that by using the latest and greatest encryption. And TLS 1.2 isn't even the latest, but it's what's recommended as a minimum. So what I did is I went through and recorded myself going through quite a number of steps. I'm sorry I'm not doing this live. There was a lot of reboots. Halfway through, my lab machine actually decided to restart for Windows updates, and it was just not the most seamless process that it could have been. So I recorded sort of what I went through and edited it down a little bit, which is why I really don't want to do any more editing. I've kind of had as much as I can take. So let's get started. So this is the official Microsoft documentation on enabling TLS 1.2, and I'm going to take you through the steps. We're going to start off by doing this on the server side. That essentially means that we're going to go to one of our servers that accepts client connections, and we're gonna tell it to only accept TLS 1.2. We're not interested in clients that have TLS 1.0. We're just gonna disconnect. We're gonna kick them off. Better to not have the connection at all and not let them connect than someone eavesdropping, right? So this is the first step. I'm applying these two registry keys, and you can go through the documentation I'm going to include with this video. It's a set of 4 total that we're going to be adding. And this is actually going to be done on the client as well later on. But right now, I'm just going through and I'm adding all those. And actually, I already added them ahead of time. So I'm just going through and clicking through just to show you that I've already done that. You can see use strong crypto has been set to 1. System default TLS versions set to 1. That's telling it to use the system default TLS version. Don't use whatever the application is telling you to use. So if we've got a really old, gross application from like the prehistoric era, let's not use that. The encryption that it wants us to use the default, the system default. And so now we got to go out there and make sure that the system default's what we want it to be. And this is this second area that we're going to go to. And something that might confuse you if you're doing this for the first time is these things that might not be there. These folders right here, this SSL 3.0, SSL 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. The only folder that was here for me right off the bat was SSL 3.0. I had to go in and create the folder for TLS 1.0, TLS 1.1, TLS 1.2. And in addition to that, I created the, let me just pause this really quick. In addition to that, I also created this client and server subfolders. Now, I'm only configuring the server subfolder in this example. There are actually some scenarios where a server is also acting as a client, and you probably want to add both. But in this example, for my purposes, I'm only adding this to the server. So notice for TLS 1.2 right here, I've set that to enabled 1, which is true, and disabled by default 0, as in false. For all these others, TLS 1.0, 1.1, if you were paying attention, you would have seen that I did the inverse. Enabled equals 0, and disabled by default equals 1. I'll pause that. So at this point, I've flipped over to the client machine, and I'm going to show you how the connection is going to fail. Now, I've got Wireshark running in the background, so any connections made to that IP address will get captured, and we'll be able to see what happens. So all I'm doing here is, this is a workflow that's quite particular to, it's a very specific thing, but the point that's relevant is that essentially I'm providing Excel this file. The file is pointed to the server that we just modified right here, and it's set to use HTTPS, right? So it's going to be using encryption. So that's all that's about to happen. It's going to try to connect to this address exactly as you see it here. It's going to try to make that connection, and well, we'll see what happens. So test connection succeeds. We hit next to start the import. Import starts. Boom, failure. You can see Excel said that the connection didn't go through. And let me pause this so we can take a look. Check out what's happening. What we're seeing is the handshake that's happening. Your client, which is these source IP addresses of 2.25, is initiating the conversation with the server by saying hello. Very polite, but as you can see, it's doing it with TLS version 1, and we have blocked that. So what happens? Let's unpause. You can see quite clearly that this red packet right here, and sorry, I think I remember I was struggling a little bit with that magnifier. I was trying to make it bigger, and then it just did not work out. We're going to take a look at the red packet in just a second, and you're going to see that it's what's happening is the server is acknowledging the hello and responding with a see ya and disconnecting. So right here you can see acknowledge, reset. Those are the flags that have been set, and that happens both times. So we try once to connect, fails. Try again, same result. So that's because the change we made to enforce TLS 1.2 is active, and this application is a little older, and it's just natively using TLS 1.0. So now we're flipping over to the registry for the client. And now we're going to do very much a lot of the same stuff that we just did on the server. So again, if any of these keys do not exist, if you don't see them, you create them. Doesn't mean that you skip it because it's not there. The folder's not there. You create it. I mean, you don't create the .NET framework folder, but you create the keys, the use strong crypto keys, as well as the TLS 1.0, 1.1, 1.2 folders. I mean, I'm sure you're a smart person and you can follow along just well enough. So right here, I'm creating these two D words, setting them both to 1. I'm doing that for it's 4 separate entries total, just like we did on the server. Oh, and I just realized I'm frozen, aren't I? Well, you don't really have to see me, but I'm going to try to fix this anyway. And hey, I'm back. Hope you didn't miss me. So, it should be what? Oh my man, this is just exhausting just to look at. So tedious. I'm almost done, thankfully. And thankfully, I don't have to watch you do it. You go last set of 2. We've got use strong crypto set to 1. Now we're just going to do system default TLS versions. Great. We're donezo. Now let's go to the other thing. Remember, like I said, if mine only had SSL 3.0 by default under protocols, and I guess here in this client, it didn't actually have any. If you noticed, this is one of those times where the computer rebooted on me. Anyway, here I am logging back in to finish up. So I think there's a little gap here, but maybe I forgot to record that. We'll find out in just a second. You know what? Give me 1 second, guys. I think my order of operations is a little off here. Yeah. Well, no, it's not off. I just skipped the step, and unfortunately, I forgot to show you the part, I guess because the computer rebooted on itself, but the part where I created the protocols, but luckily it's the exact same thing as the server part. So let's just skip back to the server part just to refresh your memory. So this was the path: current control, set control, security providers, S channel protocols. And once we made it over there, we saw that I already had all those folders nice and ready to go. But I mentioned that that this server only had SSL 3.0 already in here. Now, you'll notice that on the client, when I showed it just a little bit ago, this protocols folder was empty. So you've got to create all of these, right? Don't think that it's a get out of jail free card. You create them, and then the difference though is that while before we did client server, and we only did server actually, right? We only filled these out. If I would have clicked over here on client, I didn't fill that out. We're doing the inverse now, right? It's a client machine, so I don't need the server piece. I only need the client piece. So I create that client folder, and I'm going to create these entries for the client folder. And remember, for all the versions you want to disable, you're going to do disabled by default 1, enabled 0. And then for the versions you want to keep, TLS 1.2, 1.3, etc., disabled by default 0, enabled 1, right? Exactly the inverse. So this has been done on the client side, and I've essentially rebooted the machine, and now we're doing the same transaction we just tried a little bit ago with Wireshark recording, but this time it should work because we've made those updates. Already you can see there's some TLS 1.2 conversations going on. Skip ahead just a bit. Right. So now I'm going through the exact same steps as before. I'm loading the file that has that reference to the server. And this is the part where it failed last time. And this time, it actually transfers the data. Great. 249 rows transferred. You can see right here, the client hello. Let me just pause this for a second. The client hello, it was protocol version 1.0 before. Now it's 1.2. Before we got blocked, we had some red rows here. Wireshark was telling us, the server's angry with you. It's resetting the connection. That's no longer the case. The hello happens. We do our the key exchange. Server hello done, and then the data comes through just fine. So that's really it. That's all there is to it. Looks like something did cause a reset. I'm not exactly sure what that was. Not too concerned because our data came in through just fine, as you can see. So that's really it. We're done at this point. You probably, if you manage a whole enterprise worth of PCs and clients, you really don't want to do this or tell your clients to do this. So just do it through a group policy or something. You're a smart person, I'm sure. All right, guys. Hope this helped. And I'm glad my cat only interrupted the once. See you next time.